Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Yeah. Okay. Um, yes, I said disillusioned into being a conservative. I did not say deluded into. I said disillusioned. I know why I said it. Um, and I said disillusioned because what we find, and shout out to Shay Sade. I'm gonna, do all my work in the background to make sure I tag her and tag ABL. And I was a subscriber to ABL early on in his YouTube career, and I watched a fair bit of ABL. Anthony Brian Logan, for those of you that don't know ABL. Um, and of course I unsubscribed, but you know, and yeah, he didn't come off too bad in this interview actually. Shout out to ABL. Okay, so getting to the word disillusioned, I would argue, and for those of you that didn't watch the interview, so Shay Sade interviewed ABL, and it was a pretty cordial interview. It was a pretty good interview. Shay Sade asked some pretty interesting questions, and it was overall, I would argue, a good interview. I say disillusioned because I would argue that many black people who are starting to vote Democrat are, I mean, excuse me, starting to vote Republican are disillusioned with the Democratic Party, as they should be. So this is not an indictment of black lowercase c conservatives, because I would argue, and this is where me and FD would probably be in agreement, I would argue there are no real um, black capital C conservatives, right? Especially when you start seeing what that actually means for you as a black person. Y'all want to talk about individualism? You really want to know what that looks like, right? So I would argue lowercase c conservatives, which Mr. Z has no problem with whatsoever. Um, there's nothing wrong with that, and I would argue black people, black men in particular, voting Republican, as ABL said, like many of their ancestors did, right? Their great grandfathers that were able to vote at the time. I don't appreciate, and once again, Mr. Z is an ADOS FBA, so I got to be careful how I say this, but I don't appreciate playing down the switch of the parties. Um, I don't appreciate playing down how many black people weren't able to vote back in the day, right? Yeah, see, and that this is why I'm with BGS on this, right? Like, I get it. A lot of black people are pissed off with other black people. I get it. You're mad at other black people. Um, and because of our current position, train tracks, train tracks, train tracks, you engage in the culture war against other black people, right? And I guess one of the weapons on the table is to rewrite black history, or to ignore black history, or to ignore why black people move the way they move, or have done the things they've done in the past, right? Like, the obsession of saying, well, black people had all of this black business and we just had to go to the white people stuff. And it's like, yeah, the white people undercut the black people in price back in the day, because they had the ability to do that, because they had the larger factories and they had the access to this and they had the access to that. Yeah, it's not all inferiority complex is what Mr. Z is saying, right? So when we play down, you know, the Southern switch, right? The switch of the parties, when we play down the Southern strategy, when we play down why the masses of black people, not the black elites, why the masses of black people, right, wanted to integrate. Are I got to be careful how I say this. So, like, there's certain things that are very evident, and I don't know why we don't think about it. Let's just say, at that time, the black business class wasn't always the nicest, and let's just say they weren't always not extorting, right? So we'll just leave that there on the table, right? Um, and just You know, Shay Sade did pose some questions that could be interpreted as a bit of pushback, and shout out to her. But I would argue ABL got to run a lot with and frame some of the conversation way too loosely when it comes to why black people move and say and act and why black people vote Democrat, right? Um, ABL is correct. There are racists in the Democratic Party, very clearly. There are wayward black women who are using white racist liberal tools on the table to beat black straight men upside the head with, very clearly. So, and that's causing many black men to be disillusioned with the Democratic Party and vote Republican. So that's very clear. Um, I don't know where we're getting, and maybe I have to do some more research on young black men that, and excuse my background, you guys. Give me a second. Okay, we're back. Why? Something ABL was saying where some 30% of men under 30 voted Republican. I guess in the most recent election, and I would argue we're not factoring in Donald Trump's, his fame, his celebrity, his his brash, you know, kind of machismo, even though he's not Latino, but kind of machismo form of white masculinity and how that's appealing to some, right, including young black men, um, and how that might be a reason. There's a reason why, even DeSantis, even though he has more of the political acumen than Trump does, there's a reason why Trump, even with all of the things that he's facing right now, legally, there's a reason why he's either tied in certain polls or still beating out DeSantis, right? There's a reason for that. There's a reason why Trump was able to sacrificially slaughter the Republican Party in a couple of debates, right? There's a reason for that. Even Marco Rubio, as Army Ose Frimpong, the funky academic, has said, even even Marco Rubio had to say, wow, like, this is what happens when our people don't know politics. There's a reason for that, right? And I'm tying that to why, if it's true that a significant minority of young black men voted for the Republican Party, I would argue it's Trump. It's not. They're not voting Republican. They're voting for Trump, right? It's just something to consider, right? This is why, like, I am not for all of these celebrities running for president, right? But I would argue if The Rock was to run for president, right, and he once again, if he, barring that he doesn't have any major skeletons in the closet or whatnot, you would see people come out to vote for The Rock the way, and I'm talking about Dwayne Johnson. You would see people come out to vote for The Rock in a way that maybe the Democrats wouldn't have imagined before, right? Just like how we saw so many people come out to vote for Barack Obama who had never considered voting, right? It's just certain things to think about. You know, on the topic of respectability, as you guys can hear the way Mr. Z speaks, I'm in a monogamous heterosexual relationship with a black woman, black ADOS FBA woman. Um, my parents are still married, um, slowly approaching 40 years, right? They're over the 35-year mark. Her parents are still married. They are around the 40-year mark, right? Um, and I have multiple people in my immediate circle, we're talking about family, relatives, who are well past the 45-year mark, right? So, you know, that's the part of Mr. Z that's lowercase c conservative. There are certain things that I believe in. Me and my siblings, none of us are rainbow, right? And I'm saying all of this to say Respectability will not save Black people, right? Does respectability necessarily hurt Black people? No. I would argue no. Will it save Black people? No. Right? Wearing suits, you know, turning off the profanity, finding the most complicated word in the English language to say the most simple things, right? Will not save Black people. Cutting off your dreads, like taking the golds out your mouth, it's not, no. And I know that's hard for Black people to hear, especially in the era of like hyper individuality, in the era of like do for self, in the era of like, you meritocracy. And you would think Black people know better, but hearing that reinforced to you over and over again, right? I can see why there are many Black people that kind of shun what Mr. Z is saying, right? Meanwhile, we have so many like public cases of like anti-meritocracy, whether it's coming from the conservative side or the liberal side. Whether you're hearing about people that buying their children's way into college, cheating their children's way into college, right, with the college school scandal, right? Or you hear how people want to rejigger the entire education system to ignore very clear and blatant problems and issues that America has faced going back since its inception, right? And this is where the conservatives come in, and this is where private schools come in, right? And this is where the rewriting of history comes in, to the point where you have Black people, Mr. Z's age, a little bit older, definitely younger, who are talking down to their grandparents' age and blaming Black elders more than white supremacist society for the fact that maybe they don't have the nicest go at it right now, right? You don't know anything about Glass-Steagall. You don't know anything about neoliberalism. You don't know anything about late stage capitalism. You don't know anything about any of that, right? You don't know anything about shipping the jobs overseas. You don't know anything about that. You don't know about the killing of the unions and the air traffic control. You don't know anything about that. But you do know that the reason why you don't have anything is because grandma and granddad gambled your inheritance money. That you do know, even though that may not be true, right? And I'm not saying for certain Black individuals, grandma and grandpa didn't gamble away your inheritance money. I'm not even saying that. For some, for the ones that had it, maybe. But be very clear, most Black people didn't and still don't have it like that. They don't got it like that. They don't. So y'all keep on letting the Black people that did have it like that, who are mad that their customer base moved north, moved West Coast, right? In other words, what did Mr. Z say? The people that came from the entrepreneurial class and the business class and the elite class from the South, who grandmas and granddads told them, well, once the white people opened up, the Black people started shopping with them. First of all, most of your customer base, if not a lot of your customer base, moved to the north, moved to the West Coast. That's much of what happened, but hey, what do I know? Right? I was going to use a logical fallacy right now. Look, I'm about to do it anyway. It's not like my girlfriend is a graduate of her major was in world history, general history. It's not like that. And it's like that's not what Mr. Z's minor was either, but okay, whatever. Right. How am I tying all of this to ABL? Like I said before, ABL was able to say and imply and suggest a whole lot, right? A whole lot Now, let's talk about the Democrats being the party of the poor. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Do they comport themselves and purport to be the party of the poor in relation to the Republican Party? Yes. So with ABL on that one, ABL is correct. It would seem, in comparison to the Republican Party, they are the party of the poor. Now, what ABL said was very interesting. Is then why would you vote for them? You know, essentially, he was implying if you're an upperly mobile black person, why would you vote Republican? Why would you vote for them? You know, if they're the party of the poor, why would you vote for the party of the poor? Believe it or not, I know, Mr. ABL. I know we live in a place where like people feign to have interest that's bigger than them, right? And everybody, or many people are very self-interested, and they feign or pretend like they believe in something bigger than them, and they really don't. But believe it or not, some of us actually do. Some of us, no matter where we are, no matter what tax bracket we fit in, we are going. Black people, I'm saying, are going to vote in the interest, or what we think at least, or what we feel at least, is in the best interest of the majority of black people. I know, it's a crazy thought. I know, right? And if we think or feel, even if it's going to hurt our bottom line, that voting in this direction is what's best for the majority of black people, then we're going to do that. I know that's crazy. Voting for the Democrats because they're the party of the poor, and you're not poor, and you, yeah, I know. Crazy, I know. Right? And yes, some of us are okay with missing a few dollars, because whatever policies the Democrats pass is supposed to be what's best for whatever people further down. You know, some of us don't care for stepping on other people and tell them, well, you deserve that. You should have worked harder. You should have known better. You should have known the loopholes. Right? Some of us actually think that policies are better remedy for the uplift of people than respectability. Ooh, damn, Mr. Z. Some of us actually believe that policies are better for black people than respectability politics. Because it's not like, you know, people weren't hanging black people when black people were wearing suits coming from church, right? Huh. Right? How often do we got to hear about a company? I mean, didn't we hear from Tesla, the brother that sued Tesla, right? For the racism he works for. Wait a minute, let me get this right. STEM degree, check, right? Went to college, check. Respectable, check. Worked for a big ass company, Fortune 500 company, check. Still facing racism. And there you go. Work for a hyper capitalist. Goddamn, you can't get more capitalist than Elon Musk. Check. Capitalist to the point where he had his employees working during COVID. Check. Still facing racism. Check. Still facing anti-blackness. What are we gonna say? That brother was using excuses? If we're gonna have a real conversation, let's have a real conversation. Right? That's why y'all see Mr. Z doesn't necessarily engage too much. And like when I'm having this conversation with brothers, maybe brothers, I'd rather talk to brothers, honestly. This is, you know, this is the man in Mr. Z. I'd rather talk to brothers about the difference in the political parties, or better yet, the distinctions, let's not say difference, distinctions between the political parties, right? Because like I really do, and I'm saying that as a person who, like, y'all could see it even online, but if y'all knew me in real life, is pretty damn respectable. The way I dress elders, the way I speak, the way I dress, my relationship with my woman, my relationship with my parents, like, with my woman's parents, just, you know, like what I do for a living, just everything. What I used to do for a living, right? All of that. And yet, culture war, respectability, yeah, do I see that working for Black people and particular Black individuals? Possibly. Black people as a group of 30 some odd, 40 some odd million people in these United States of America? No. Right? Because I really do think both Democrat and Republican Party do a horrible job at addressing the most important, pertinent problem Black people face, the fact that they have been designated as the permanent underclass. Point blank, period. And I think the Democrats and the Republicans do a horrible job at that. And I'm talking about the Black ones. I'm not talking about the white ones. I think they do a horrible job at that. I think the Democrats have an F. I think the Republicans have an F minus. The fact that you were designated as the permanent underclass, right? So another thing that was said was, by ABL, he brought up the two-parent households back in the 1960s. Yeah, you live in a capitalist society, and I mean everything is subject to money, to being commodified. That's why, okay, let's go through it. 26%, I say this all the time, right? 26%, excuse me, 26% of poor Americans are married, 39% of middle class Americans are married, 56% of upper middle class and above Americans are married, right? The article that came out some years ago now, was it 2017 or 2018, something along those lines, that said economically unattractive men are leading to a downturn in marriage, right? The number one reason for divorce in America is money related. We already know the data. A man loses his job for how long? Women file for divorce. It's the money. We can't even say that Keisha having a zillion kids anymore. Yeah, on the one-off, one situation here and there, yes, but not really. What's the birth rate for Black America? Something like 1.8, when you need 2.1 to maintain your population, right? Could Keisha talk to people better? Yes, she can. Could she move better? Yes, she can. Could she be more discerning about who she gives the vagina to? Of course, right? But even Keisha is only having one or two kids now, right? And watch somebody say, well, my cousin from such and such got six kids from six different dudes. Stop it. If that was the case all across the Black community, we would not have a birth rate of 1.8, right? And then we won't even factor in the abortion rate. 20 million children in the span of what, 40 years? 40 some odd years, right? So when we speak about two-parent households and how much better the black community was with two-parent households, there's a reason why the black people on the bottom were pushing for integration. If the black community was that great back in the 1950s and 60s, the black people on the bottom would not have been pushing for integration. They were practically starving. Y'all ever listen to some of those interviews? Mr. Z spent like forever or just watching these interviews. They like those obscure interviews from random black people when they would just throw a camera in their face in the 50s, in the 60s, right? Chastising the civil rights leaders on top of that. Right? We went from a country where, you know, staying with your man, making it work with him, you don't necessarily, there was no promise of upward mobility. That wasn't like, hey, if you can't promise me this, if you can't make this happen, then what, why would I even look your direction? Right? You went from that era to the era of materialism, consumerism, defining yourself by how much money your man makes. And yeah, that's always been a thing throughout human history, but how much has it seeped down to middle class, lower class, if there ever was a middle class, depending on what area you're talking about. And that's the world we're in now. So of course the marriage rate is falling off of a cliff. The marriage rate has fallen off of a cliff so much, the divorce rate fell off a cliff. Because who's getting married? Oh, wait, the people with the money that can maintain their marriage. The men, excuse me. Sorry. Sorry, ladies. This is not about you. You know how crazy of a world it is? The marriage rate fell off a cliff so much, the divorce rate fell off a cliff. Because we have truly turned marriage into a status symbol. So of course it flipped. It flipped first for black people, you know, because we're on the socioeconomic bottom. Slowly it's making its way through the Latino community and even white society. Right? I made mention was it yesterday or the day before um why I juxtaposed why I juxtapose the black community, right, to what's going on in Japan or South Korea. In those countries, you don't have children out of wedlock. Well, check their population. Yikes. They don't have children out of wedlock, so they're not having children. And there you go. Anywhere from 0.7 to 0.9 population, I mean, excuse me, child per woman, childbirth per woman, and that's in South Korea. And in Japan, last time I checked, it was 1.4 woman, I mean, children per woman, well below replacement level. So when we speak about two-parent households, I agree with ABL. I'm from one. My woman's from one. I want to create one myself for my progeny. But that also won't save the black community. Goddamn. It's the money. How do and this is a conversation I remember having with Hot Sauce. How do you tell people it's all about the money Point blank period. Like especially for, I would argue, people my age, 40 and under, that's all we ever heard. Screw everything. Screw being respectable. Screw every, if you don't have money, if you, and like the whole money, power, respect concept, all of this. Screw everything else you saying if you don't have this. And then you expect these women to marry regular 35, 40, $45,000 a year men and stay with them, right? And stay with them. No, they're not going to get married to the men. And if they do get married to the men, they will be filing divorce, as evident by the fact that the divorce rate in the black community is what, we get divorced within what, 5 years? She filed for divorce within 5 years. Come on. And Mr. Z isn't talking about what should be, before the conservative brothers start railing on about the way. No, this is the way it is, because no one ever talks about what's on the other side of the systems that you advocate for. Mr. Z had to do a lot of sitting down and thinking about being under the tent with the rainbow hair people and the rainbow flag waving people in the Transformers. Mr. Z had to do a lot of sitting down with, like, this is on the other side of why you are the way you are, the things that you believe politically. You share a tent with these people. And on the other side of some of the social programs that you advocate for is the people that's going to take advantage of them. Is the air quotes welfare queen, which is not really a thing anymore like that, but I'm just saying. You could argue it was never really a thing, but it's definitely not a thing now. Right? On the other side of what you're advocating for. And so, on the other side of this brand of capitalism is everything's for sale. Your concepts, your marriages, your women, oops, your children, your institutions. Right? Everything's for sale. You know, um, there was some talk about California and it being a blue. Well, it wasn't said that it was a blue state, but kind of implied. California has blue counties. I think just about half the state of California is Democrat, not by population but by county. Mr. Z is not talking by population. California is a blue state by population. By counties, kind of 50-50. Right? That's why when Shay said, she drives what, 40, 45 minutes out from where she is, and she's in MAGA country. I remember saying this, so y'all know Mr. Z worked for the Florida Democratic Party. And a couple of the people that I work with were from California. And I had to remind them, y'all remember that Nixon and Reagan came from California. Arnold Schwarzenegger ran as a Republican. He was a Republican governor. What are y'all talking about? Right? And like, oh, Z, no, yeah, but no, Z. Excuse me. Some of the most notable online Republicans live in California. Right? Some of your most notable. Where is Ben Shapiro? Last time I checked, or at least where was he? Right? there's a lot of your most notable. Where's Candace Owens on top of that? I'm not saying they are in California, but at one point I think um what's his face wasn't Shapiro was, right? Very interesting. And then once again, taking it out of California, how many conservatives are coming out of New York? Right. So when we talk about, and this is tying, I'll continuing or segueing, better yet, to what ABL was speaking about when these blue run cities and which blue run city do you want to live in? First of all, the blue run cities got more money, so there's that. Two, blue run cities and red run states. Atlanta, Georgia. I know we forget that Atlanta is in Georgia. Atlanta's not a separate state. Miami, Florida. Huh, right? And depending who's running the state in California, Los Angeles, yeah. In what state? Who's the governor? Right? All these blue cities in red. Y'all ever look at the electoral map by county? The Bloods are killing the Crips, right? All these supposed blue. Which blue city would you want to live in? What state am I in? Yeah, all politics is local, but goddamn, what state am I in? Right? Blue cities in red states, like super red states, right? So we talk about, and then you're in a blue city that had white flight, right? And then the rest of the state is red as hell, right? And then the governor is all about like personal responsibility, lowering taxes, cutting off social safety, whatever, and cutting off all type of you know, what? So yeah, so you're in a blue city that maybe once upon a time had money like that but doesn't, or that has white flight, or and when I say white flight, understand what Mr. Z is saying. It's not about the white people, it's about the money. Once again, the tax base. Once again. So, you know, ABL was able to say these things and yeah, no, right? And so what I will agree with ABL and Shay on definitely is maybe more young men, particularly black men, um, flirting with and entertaining the Republican Party and conservatism because of a pushback to feminism. And I would agree with that. I would agree with that, right? Because even if we pontificate and we do a lot of we intellectualize these things and we think about these things and we're very thoughtful of these things, but for those that don't know of the black manosphere or are not part of the black manosphere, they still see things, think and feel things, and they will entertain the Republican Party because the Democrat Party has triple and quadrupled down on some of the most wayward aspects of this kind of brand, boss girl brand of feminism that I supposedly has ended. I don't know how true that is, right? You know. So, and Better You says, and thank you for the super chat. Better You says, during COVID, Governor Kim signed an order that cut the autonomy of the mayors to get at ATL, Augusta, and Savannah to force them to stop local protections. Well, didn't we see that in Michigan? Right? Didn't we see that in Michigan where they pretty much told the mayors, yeah, you get elected by your people, but we have like a super mayor that he decides. That's how you get much of the Flint water crisis, right? Because it wasn't up to the mayor. It wasn't up to the citizens that actually live there, right? What happened with the train just now, right? Like so much of this happens, and like I said, some of the things we advocate for, there's a dark side to that. There's an ugly side to that. The unintended consequences, right? And on that, I'm not specifically only talking about Republicans or the conservatives in the Republican Party, because this definitely exists in the Democratic Party also. And how do you mitigate for that? Or do you just try to shame your people into like, you know what, it just is what it is, right? Or do you even acknowledge that? Or do you even try to mitigate for it, right? So, listening to ABL speak is like, yeah, all the culture war stuff. Yeah, I don't want to be with these people and this, and yeah, okay, right? And when we talk about, the trans and teaching our kids, yeah, I'm with you 100 on that. I am 100% with you on that. That's a no-go, right? But it ain't all about the culture war, bro. When we gonna start talking about this money and who run things and who they're running it for, and what's our cut as black people, regardless of who we vote for, right? Because all that, well, I'd rather vote for the overt racist. Yeah, yeah, that sound nice, right? In that case, you would have voted for Biden during this election. Ah, yikes, Mr. Z, did you just say that? I said it. I said it. And not understanding the difference between Biden and Trump, and that Trump is not a conservative. He was a Republican, or he is a Republican by party affiliation, but he is not a conservative. And Joe Biden is not as liberal as you think. He's definitely not progressive, that's for sure. Biden is an old school blue dog Democrat. He's from the overt drooling at the mouth Strom Thurmond part of the Democratic Party. This is something we have to pin down as black people. And about the black vote, because I've said this before, I think I need to say it again in this video. And eclectic agitator, I will. And eclectic agitator says, can you please look up Shiva? He is running for president. I will. right? Yeah, but about the black vote, the black vote matters because of the fact that we pretty much vote in unison. That's why it matters. Once you start if once you disaggregate the black vote and it starts to splinter and fracture, it no longer has any power. It will no longer have any power. The fact that the reason why the black vote matters is because the black vote is becoming more and more the make or break vote. Whether we stay home or not, that's what matters. Particularly for black men, because the margins are that small. But if you start to break up the black vote, then that's a million shards of glass. Right? And let's play this game. I would argue the Republicans don't care to really win black men. What they care is for the Democrats to lose black men. There's a difference. They don't care to win black men. That's why they don't care if you stay home or not. Just don't vote for the Democrats, which is genius. By the way, Mr. Z kind of fell into that because I have not voted for. I did not vote for Hillary Clinton. I did not vote for Joe Biden, and most likely I will not be voting for whatever Democrat or Republican presidential candidate pops up this election. Right? That's what y'all ever know. Like, this is the one thing the Democrats accuse the Republicans of that is actually true, which is like the Republicans really don't want nobody to vote. Like, they're really not about you voting, especially if you're gonna vote against them. That's why they're all about like voter suppression. Like, that's the one thing y'all know. Mr. Z don't be. Look, man, I have Republicans in my family. I have like legit Republican friends. That's why I don't really be going on the brothers. I disagree with y'all. I debate y'all all day, every day. But this one thing, the Democrats are definitely right about. That voter suppression thing, oh yeah, that got Republican ran all over it. That's Republican all the way. Right? That's why they don't care. Think about it. They don't. One thing that Stacey Abrams said, where she was right about, when she was trying to do the whole black men and disinformation, I did, because I see what she was really calling us big dumb idiots, but the whole misinformation thing, which is like poison the water enough that nobody drinks it, right? Put enough salt in the game where nobody engages. Because for the Republican Party, I don't need you to vote for me. I just need you not to vote. I got the votes I need. I just need you not to. If you're not going to vote for me, then I'd rather you not vote. Which the Democrats believe in too. They just don't do what the Republicans do on that. Right? That's why the Democrats always want a large election, and that's why they'll put a couple of crumbs on the table for every demographic except for black people, black men specifically. This is the one thing ABL is right about. I'm gonna give you a couple of licks of this candy. Everybody get a lick. Everybody's okay. You're gonna vote for me now, right? The Democrats will play that game. The Republicans are like, yeah, we do that for the elites, and we know you know that, so we rather you not vote. So we're gonna create an environment where you don't vote, where you won't vote for us, but you won't vote for the Democrats either, right? And it's actually smart. I don't fault it's messed up. Oh, it's messed up. But I mean, if it makes sense. If we're gonna be Machiavellian about it, it makes sense. Well, if you ain't gonna vote for me, then I'd rather you not vote. So let me cause you to be disillusioned. And this is why my title is what it is. Let me cause you to be disillusioned with the Democratic Party, which is really easy to do. I mean, for real. That's what I was saying yesterday. They make it so easy. Y'all notice, shout out to the brother Rael. When the brother Rael got a point, I agree with him. If he has a point, I agree with him. Right? That's why I said what I said before. The Democrats got excuse me, not the Democrats, not the Democrats. The progressives, the hippies, the tree huggers, the anti-war advocates, the Black Power movement, um, they all got their asses handed to them in the 1960s, going into the 1970s, better yet. And some of them, they were so frightened, they were so scared, and they got so broken, they end up voting for Ronald Reagan in the 80s, right? But they got a foot put so far up their ass. Not only did they become disillusioned with the left, which is easy to do and makes sense, but they stopped fighting, right? They stopped fighting. And that stopped fighting. Well, I've mentioned it before. When Ronald Reagan, when Carter that's the very baby inception of neoliberalism, but it really skyrockets under Reagan. You skip over Bush Senior, you get to Clinton. When Clinton doubles down on neoliberalism, it's a wrap. It's done. That's supposed to be your opposition. When he pretty much when Clinton says the era of big government is over, it's done. That's done. It's over. It's done. Right? And then you get Obama that says a rising tide lifts all boats. All of that is trickle down economics said differently. That's all that is, by the way. Right? And there's some real ramifications for that. When the median household income is $67,000 a year, and yet your average home price is going for $480,000. And instead of us talking about that, we're over here talking about some culture war stuff about who's having sex with who. When even in the straight world, our population is going to the crapper. Okay, we have a LGBTQ thing going on. Even and this is not just focused on the Black community. The LGBTQ community. Okay, well, how much children are your straight women having then? And much of the reason why they say they're not having children, yes, some of them say career, many of them say money. Listen to the people. Before we hit them with a aha, gotcha question, just ask them basic questions and let them talk. And they'll tell you why they're doing things. Ask them. The women are telling you why they're not having children. The men are telling you why they're not proposing. The women are telling you why they're not getting married. They tell you. All of it comes down to the money. Now, respectability. Now, they don't value family, and I'm not saying that some of them don't value family. They all say the money. The articles said it clearly. Economically unattractive men are leading to a downturn in marriage. And they were mainly talking about white folks. So what you think it meant for Black people coming into the 1970s, the 80s, the 90s, the early aughts, right? And so for ABL to speak the way he did, without a particular type of context, right? I said it before. Shout out to Green Gorilla. We speak about the feminism, and I'm saying the word feminism, but that's overall like left leaning kind of culture warring. Like, hey, we ain't gonna talk about the money or power, but we will let you, go in on your brothers, right, about your sexuality or lack thereof, or their form of air quotes toxic masculinity. We will let you do that. We'll actually encourage you to do that because we don't want to talk about how we've been taking L's for the past 40 plus years, 50 years on the left, right? So we talk about the feminism side, and it's all the negatives that come from that. All the negatives that come from that. But then ain't nobody want to talk about the capitalism side, right? No? Okay. No? Oh, okay. All right. Right. And thank you for the super chat. And better use is capitalism concentrates wealth, so all you get left is crumbs crumbs for the select few. You see what I'm saying? The culture war is all they have, as it's disadvantageous to critique wealth in this system. Capitalism ruins politics. And there you go. Couldn't say it better, right? When I said everything's for sale, I mean, let me rewind. Mr. Z didn't say everything's for sale. The capitalist said everything's for sale. Mr. Z's just saying it again, right? The marketplace of ideas. Yeah, that's it, right? Everything's a market, right? And there's just some things to think about. And this is me kind of offering a different perspective from what ABL offered on Shay Sade's channel. And I mean him no disrespect. Obviously, I don't mean Shay no any disrespect, but a lot of things were not put into context. A lot of things were not put into context, right? And I'll be honest with you. What triggered Mr. Z the most was when we started talking about the poor and why would black people vote for the party of the poor. Well, black people are largely poor. Black people are largely lower working class, lower middle class, economically, we're saying. And then even the ones that aren't, if you have any type of, you know, consciousness about yourself when it comes to black people and their socioeconomic position, if you think and feel like what would remedy that is left leaning politics, then that's where you're going to go. Especially if you already got it like that. If you already have it like that, then what difference does it make if the government takes a few more dollars to spread the wealth around to people on the bottom? That's the part that truly makes me. For all of you that want to know why, and I had this, I went back and read the comments when I was on Obsidian's channel. We were talking about Kim Foster, and I made sure to defend those of us on the left, black lefties, um, because of something Kim said in Obsidian responded to. And I think it was a sister in his live comments that said, "Mr. Z sounds so smart," or something. I'm paraphrasing, but Mr. Z sounds so smart. Why is he a black lefty? It's mainly for money and class things. Not really the culture war stuff. I don't care who someone is having sex with. Outside of the larger, there is a conversation to be had about, like we said, same sex, excuse me, not same sex, but trans people in women's sports, stuff like that. Like that, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not for it. I'll straight up say it, right? But mainly why I'm on the left is because of class and money and how it's distributed. and economics, right? That's the main reason Mr. Z's on the left. Hey, Mr. Shikti, you remember that tape, right? Oh man. For those of you that don't remember, Blagojevich, he was trying to sell Obama's old Senate seat when President Obama became president, and he was trying to hawk the Senate seat, and he said if he don't sell it, shit, he'll run, right? And he got caught up. Jesse Jackson Jr. got caught up. Yeah, yeah. Am I correct, Mr. Shook to you? That's what you're referring to, right? Uh, yeah, Mr. Shook to you. That was good. That was good. Right. What else I have? What else do I have? Yeah, that's you know. Oh, another thing. Y'all do not forget. Um, Women vote more than men do. I just want us to remember that. Right. So if we're, and this is why Mr. Z is wary also about whether it's just the black community that we're focused on or outside of just the black community. Women vote more than men. So if you turn this into a full on, full scale Republican Party man, Democratic Party woman, ugh, right? Now, white women still vote by a small majority Republican, but that's offset by all the other women of color that vote Democrat. So, yeah, just, just put it out there, right? Just putting it out there, you know. And still, the majority of many of the minority groups still vote Democrat. Now, it's not as large as the black community. The black community is somewhere in like the mid to late 80s. And how much we vote Democrat, somewhere around, floating around at 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 most sometimes like 88, 90%, and at least like 83, 85%, right? Of black people, when they do vote, the black people that do vote, vote Democrat. Where in other communities it's more like a 60, 66, 60, 40 split, 60-40 split, 70-30 split, something along those lines, right? 58% vote Democrat, something like that, right? Pretty much. And Trell, this is a really good comment, and it's so true. And he said, "Women get like Survivor, Survivor, and gang up and get rid of the strong guy." Exactly, exactly. So I just want us to be mindful of these things. Um, I get it. Look, this was not. Oh yeah, how did I not do this in the beginning? No, Mr. Z is not being paid by the Democratic Party. No, Mr. Z does not no longer work for the Democratic Party. No, Mr. Z is not in any official or unofficial capacity affiliated with the Democratic Party. No, what else would I be accused of? Um all of that, all of the above, plus whatever else that I would be accused of. No, Mr. Z is not trying to get you to vote for the Democratic Party or stay on the Democratic plantation. Um, any of that. All right. This was just, I watched Shay Sade's well, I listened to it because I was at work. Listened to Shay Sade's interview with ABL, and this is just my commentary, beginning end. I didn't have to call anybody, run into anybody, nobody suggested anything, etc., etc. So exactly, paid shill, exactly. Mr. Z is not a paid shill, none of that, right? So I just putting that out there. But I did want to offer some pushback on ABL, right? Um, because I do think there were some things that were said or implied or suggested that I think needed some context and to be pushed back just a little bit, you know. And he didn't come off too unreasonable, to be honest with you. He didn't come off, you know, with and he is right that we automatically assume that, you know, Republicans are all racist and Democrats are not, and like, yeah, Mr. Z's not about it. I'm not. I'm not. I don't think all um, Republicans are racist. I do think because of the small and capital C conservatism, obviously in the Republican Party, it does lean that way because of money and power, right? I do think that, right? But I also don't think the Democrats are not racist. I do think the Democrats and the racism of lower expectations is a real thing, and I would say both Democrats and Republicans occupy that. Although I would say the Democrats are probably more um, racist in that respect, right? The racism of low expectations. I definitely agree with that sentiment coming out of the political left, right? You know, and you know, when people, this person did not become president, actually they got so egregious that you know, they actually were kind of kicked out of any official capacity of the Republican Party that I know of. When people, you know, say, yeah, y'all voted for Joe Biden, once again, Mr. Z did not vote for Joe Biden. Um, but yeah, y'all voted for Joe Biden, even though he said, you know, if you're not black, if you don't vote for me, and you know all this other stuff that he's been saying, and definitely you know, 94 crime bill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is once again much of the reason why Mr. Z knew he wasn't going to vote for Joe Biden. Like the Clinton thing was different. Mr. Z went into the booth and was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do it." The Biden thing, yeah, from the jump, it was a no. I didn't have to go to no booth to real. Nope, that was a no, right? So, but when that's said about black people that vote for Biden, I this once again, this person was not in any way ever going to be, you know, a presidential candidate. But it reminds me of Steve King and how often the Republicans would cop and please for Steve King, right? Just cop and please. The man on CNN Live telling you about Western civilization. And whenever you hear a white person say Western civilization, you look, I say it, I like when I was on Art New Styles channel, I said, screw all of your debate rules and the way we're supposed to speak. We all know when white people say Western civilization what they really mean, right? We all know what they really mean, right? So Steve King over here talking about preserving Western civilization and huh. And the Republicans were just cop and please for him, including the black ones. Because this is the one thing that I will say. Yes, we can say the Democrats are hypersensitive to race, which I don't really believe. But okay, I'll take that. I'll take that on the chin. Cool. The Democrats are hypersensitive and accuse everyone of racism for the smallest infraction, even if the people didn't mean, you know, any ill. Okay, cool. Mr. Z will take that. I'll take that. Right. But on the other hand, are the Republicans who got it like a Republican got to be caught saying like the N word. They have to have like N word Tourette's, and they have to be saying, "I'm saying this in a like a very I want to offend you. I'm purposely condescending to you by using this word." Right? I don't mean it in a hip hop type of, you know, cool and I'm in and I'm no. They have to like overtly say they're being offensive on purpose to you as a black person, and they want to see your demise or your downfall for us to be like, oh, I think that person's racist. Right? Like, okay, And let me give this example so I could get out of here. Dylan Roof. Dylan Roof went into that courtroom after his heinous act at the AME church and said, I don't need any attorney. Essentially, I'm not crazy, right? I know exactly what I was doing. I did it on purpose. I would do it again. Like he had to, because he already knows that if he doesn't do that, somewhere white racist society is going to activate and be like, okay, it's time to protect him, right? Oh, he was crazy. He was out of his mind. He didn't know what he was doing, right? He was influenced by online this and, he played violent video games. No, he went into the courtroom and took away every type of excuse that he knew his people would use to protect him. I'm tying that to Steve King and to the Republican Party by saying, apparently, if a white person doesn't do what Dylan Roof did, then we'd be like, oh, yeah, he's not racist. She's not racist, right? And this is what, well, Michael Ross, I do vote. I just don't vote for president because there be bills and initiatives and stuff that I want to get. Like the Mr. Z doesn't smoke. I've never smoked ever, right? Not a cigarette, not weed, not nothing. But when I wanted to vote for recreational marijuana use in Florida, so not recreational, I'm sorry, medicinal um marijuana in Florida, so I got to vote, right? And when it pops up for recreation, even though I don't plan on smoking, even when it becomes legal in Florida, if and when it becomes legal in Florida, I still want to vote. So I still go and vote. I just refuse to vote for president, right? Yeah. So and Michael Ross says, I haven't voted since Obama and won't be until I see tangibles for Native Black Americans, specifically Black men. And so I respect your decision, right? I respect your decision, right? And I respect all Black people, namely Black men, who this is their stance. I respect it, right? So, you know, yeah. And so, I just want to offer some pushback to ABL, and he kept it respectful. So I'm not gonna, that's why I'm not making any, underhanded insults or comments or anything like that. But finishing up on what I was saying, you know, if the bar for, and that, by the way, that's what's scary about a lot of this, like anti-social justice warrior talk. I want to be very clear. Mr. Z does believe that the social justice warrior stuff is way out of hand. So, yes, agreement. But on the other side of that, understand when you, as a Black person, namely a Black man, part of the Black manosphere, as anti-social justice warrior, because you realize how Black women, mainly Black women on the left, have used it to undermine the progress of Black men, straight Black men. I'm in full agreement with you. That's a problem. That's something that needs to be remedied. But when you say anti-social justice warrior, and when the white folks say anti-social justice warrior, namely the white men, know that y'all are talking about two different things. And what's frightening is when Black American history gets put under social justice warrior, when Black progress gets put under social justice warrior, when fighting against anti-Blackness gets put under social justice warrior, when suing a company for very blatant racist practices gets put under social justice warrior, when you truly actually being a victim, not talking about victimhood, but no, when you're truly a victim of anti-Blackness, right? When we can show these Latinos in this company fire Black people easily, when we can show that this company uses Black people in an inappropriate way, whatever it is, and when you sue that, right? When you sue local government, when you sue a company or corporation, and that gets put under social justice warrior, that is a problem, right? So I just wanted to, make sure we end on that note. Black people, Black men, be careful what you say. I just don't want us to be disillusioned with the left, which once again, Mr. Z understands, right? I'm in agreement with some and disagreement with others, but I understand. I don't want us to be disillusioned and, like someone said earlier, jump from the Democratic plantation and go run to the Republican plantation, right? And I've always, and notice what what a lot of the Republicans, the conservatives say, well, y'all on the Democratic plantation, and like instead of doing what? And by the way, I'm not for being on the Democratic plantation, but instead of doing what, being on the Republican plantation, right? And that's when it gets real interesting when they're like, oh, just have a difference of opinion. Now, when you say that, are you saying that my difference of opinion will automatically lead me to be in agreement with you, or see things more in your way? Right? It's always interesting how they levy difference of opinion, right? Oh, this person just has a difference of opinion. You love saying that because they agree with you. Huh. And Better You, I love this song. And Better You says, I view F Boy Joe. Oh, Better You started the statement off the right way. And he says, I view F Boy Joe as the architect of many of my generation's woes: mass incarceration, student loan debt, in bankruptcy, etc. I'll never vote for him. Neither will I. Neither will I. That's why I didn't. Neither will I. Name a effed up bill over the past, what, 40 some odd years and see if Joe Biden's name wasn't on it. Like, for real. Telecom Act, check. Right? Architect of the 94 crime bill. End the Glass-Steagall. Mr. Name it. Right? I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one, Better You. I'm not doing it. Nah. Nope. Nope. Right? Hillary Clinton called brothers super predators, and that was enough for me. Right? And talking about bringing them to heel, bringing them to heel. No, can't do it. So you know, if I'm not voting for Hillary, and I was working for the Florida Democratic Party, if I can't vote for Hillary for those type of statements, you know I'm not voting for Joe Biden. Nah. Because it wasn't just statements with him. And Dr. Thunder says, I call him Jim Crow Joe. Yeah, right? NAFTA. I think Joe Biden was for NAFTA also. I think Joe Biden was for NAFTA also. We have to look at his voting record with that. I'm almost certain he voted for NAFTA also. I'm putting money he did. I seriously doubt Mr. Credit Card did not vote for NAFTA. Right? And Michael Ross, thank you once again for the super sticker. Right? Bro, Trell, that was the corniness, just the bleh. And Trell says claiming she keep hot sauce in her bag or in her purse was enough. Bro, it was so cringe. We're just cringe. Absolute cringe, bro. Just, and like the pandering hot sauce in your bag. Whoever worked on your campaign that told you to reference like this freaking Beyonce joint, stop. First of all, who are these corny people, these corny black people that keep working for these Democrat and Republican, really Democrat, let's stop it, Democrat like candidates, and y'all always got them saying the worst thing ever. Shout out to Simone Sanders. Who are you people? Right? Because, you know, as much as we were getting on Bernie Sanders, Breonna Joy Gray and what's my girl name out of the Carolina? Her face is right there. I say her name all the time. Oh my God, it's right there. The dark skinned sister with the glasses. Jesus Christ. Oh, damn it. I'll be saying her name all the time, and I can't believe I just forgot it. But yeah, Breonna Joy Gray and what's her name? They didn't have Bernie out here looking so retarded. Nina Simone, boom. Nina Simone. No, Nina. What is it? Yeah. Wait, no. Nina. I forgot. Anyway, Nina Turner. Goddamn, thank you, AB. Jeez, I said Nina Simone, y'all. Yes, thank you, AB. Nina Turner. I said Nina Simone, like the goddamn singer. Anyway, yeah, they didn't have Bernie looking retarded like Hillary was looking retarded. Y'all really had Hillary come out here talking about hot sauce in her bag, yo. The insult. I mean, black men were insulted, obviously, super predator. Were black women insulted? Did y'all really feel that? The pandering, right? And like, okay, you're a presidential candidate. Okay, and pandering is par for the course. Cool. But like that type of pandering, right? Like that type of pandering, nah, I can't do it. It's too cringy. And then what are you gonna do? So I guess that's a good place to end. What are you going to do? And I argue the Democrats will start to struggle with black women also eventually because the culture war, it's done. Like, okay, we gave you a couple of symbolic victories. You have a couple of black women of note in the Democratic Party. Um, but the masses of black women still don't have any tangibles, are still struggling. So the question is for the Republican and the Democratic Party, what are you going to do for black people? And don't tell me, oh, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to move out the way. No, 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 no. What are you going to do? Well, we remove all the barriers and just let you, live out your dreams and your no, 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 no. What are you going to do for black people? Dear Republican Party, you know how you do for the corporations? You know how you cut their taxes? What are you going to do for black people? Dear Democratic Party, you know how both of y'all are down for H-1B visas? You know how you looking out for the tech industry? Dear Democrat and Republican Party, what are you going to do for black people, namely black men? Dr. Thunder said, not a damn thing. Third party, bro. For real, Dr. Thunder. Uh, you and Roger are like the two people that really have me thinking third party. You and the Roger report, right? It's really you and the Roger report, right? Spain man gotta be late. Mr. Z would be that teacher. Nice of you to join us, Mr. Spain man. Right. You see what I'm saying? Better you said, I want my 40 acres and a mule on 22s. Hey, I'm not ADOS, but I want to see y'all get it. I'm gonna still get a couple of crumbs. I mean, like I said, my lady and her whole family, both mom and dad's side, are ADOS. So Mr. Z will still get a couple of dollars. My lady ain't gonna leave me out there. I hope, right? I hope. But yeah, I'm like for real. And maybe to Dr. Thunder's point, maybe the two party system is just done. It's just done. They can't offer anything anymore. Plus, you have corporate capture of both parties. Big money is just ripping things up. Look, they told you everything they needed to tell you when they told you the banks were too big to fail. When they told you that, then you knew you had some type of weird ass form of capitalism that's not really capitalism, but it is like essentially capitalism. Yes, it made sense. I know, yeah, it made sense. I know it didn't make sense, but it made sense, right? Once they told you that, then you knew like big money. It was all about big money, right? So on that note, right, Dr. Thunder said, "Not a goddamn thing, nothing, not a damn thing for real." This two party system, and maybe that's. I mean, America's over 200 years old, right? Um, we've had two parties. It wasn't always the Republican Party. You had the Whigs and whatnot, yes, but the two party system, and you've had third parties not necessarily challenge, but definitely I'm not gonna say pose a threat. I don't know if a third party ever really posed a real threat, especially like contemporarily, like over the past, ugh, pretty much since Eugene Debs. I don't really see a third party ever posing a threat. I'm trying to think, like post Eugene Debs. Anybody know? Like, all my historians, can y'all tell me anytime the third party has really posed a threat? But I like Dr. Thunder makes a really good point. I'm at the point right now where I'd rather vote third party. And like all this, like, oh, your vote's going to the trash or whatever. Yeah, yeah, but I still rather do that than what we got going on now. Right. What we got going on now is just ridiculous. Ross Perot, yeah, 90s, yeah, 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 yeah. Wait, Ross, yeah, 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 yeah. You know, you know. So, and then of course, Mr. Z would think about Eugene Debs. So that's the lefty in me going back to Eugene Debs, right? But yeah, so yeah, y'all, and both parties are the party of Reagan. Oh yeah, Mr. Z went there. Oh yeah, both parties are the parties of Reagan. That's why if y'all go far enough down on my community chat, I mean my community tab, y'all will see I put a meme up like how long ago was that? Maybe 5, 6 months ago, maybe something like that. Maybe yeah, so about that. And it said like Reagan, it had like classic Reagan, then it had Bush senior as nerd Reagan, then it had like Clinton as what was Clinton? Clinton was a different type of Reagan, but they were all Reagans, right? Obama was like eloquent Reagan. Um, yeah, both parties are the party of Reagan. Both parties are neoliberal as hell. Both parties have been captured by the corporate sector, right? Yeah, it's just Reagan blue and Reagan red, right? Oh yeah, Joe Stein and Abu Jamal Baraka. Well, I can't. I just watched the interview with this brother. Like, but he Brianna Joy Gray did an interview with him, and This Is Revolution did an interview with him. I think not too long ago. Well, it was actually a while ago, but yeah, I forgot. Yeah, yeah, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that Diaspora L. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. They made Jill Stein look like a crazy person too, just like they try to make a Marianne Williamson look like a crazy crystal ball lady. And if you ever watch Marianne Williamson's interviews, she's way more serious of a person than they made her seem on the media. Way more serious of a person, right? Reagan Blue. Trell said Reagan Blue. Pause. Well, we know what his wife was blown. Oh, Mr. Z. Somebody with the last name Reagan was blowing a whole lot. I'll say that. Right? Allegedly. Allegedly, of course. Allegedly. Right? Allegedly. So, on that note, um, we'll end it right there. Thank y'all for listening in. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Mr. Z out, y'all. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. What am I doing? I forgot to do my exit the right way. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content. Dr. Thunder might be up, so y'all go check out Dr. Thunder. Um, yeah. Oh, better you ain't know. You better find out about Nancy Reagan. Better you said, hold up, what happened now? Yeah, you better find out. Oh yeah, Doctor. Yes, all of us. If I could put out an edict, everybody dogpile Steve Harvey with this foolishness he talking. Um, Yeah, but yeah, when talking, what you talking about? Anyway, so yeah, better you look it up. Yeah, Nancy Reagan, they, yeah, you know, throw baby. Anyway, on that note, we'll end it right there. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Mr. Z out.